And now moving on to world news, the wave of heinous terrorist attacks targeting the Muslim world continued today, with the suicide bombing killing at least 28 people and injuring many more in the border town of Suruc in Turkey. Amin Mustawa.
Some 28 people were killed and nearly 100 were injured in an early morning suicide bombing in the Turkish town of Suruc, located near the Syrian border. The blast occurred at 9 a.m. local time in the garden of a cultural center as hundreds of young members of the Federation of Socialist Youth Associations were staying there. They were gathering in the center in order to take part in the rebuilding efforts for the ravaged Syrian town of Kobani, located some 15 minutes away. Suruc, a Kurdish-majority city, houses many refugees who have fled the fighting in nearby Kobani, which was retaken from the so-called Islamic State by Kurdish forces in January. Local Turkish authorities have confirmed that the attack was a suicide bombing, but were cautious to not jump to any further conclusions before the results of an investigation. For their part, local Turkish media is already reporting that the suicide bomber was an 18-year-old female from the terrorist Islamic State. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan condemned the bombing, stating that terror has no religion, no country, no race. The bombing is one of the bloodiest suicide attacks in Turkey in years, with the Turkish Ministry of Interior expecting the death toll to rise even further in the coming hours.
And still with the latest developments in the Turkey situation, we are joined today by Mr. Ege Seçkin, a Turkey analyst at IHS Country Risk in London. Hello, Mr. Seçkin. Okay, and thank you for joining us on Dzair News TV in Algeria. My first question is, Mr. Seçkin, there has been no longer official claim of responsibility for today's heinous bombing in Suruc. Local media suggest, however, that the self-proclaimed Islamic State terror group is behind the attack. What is your analysis of the situation and who do you think is responsible?
As you said, the initial reports do in fact suggest that it was a young female suicide bomber from the Islamic State. And we think this is likely to be the case for two main reasons, mainly. Firstly, the attack targeted a demonstration by a group of young activists who were intending to cross into the Kurdish town of Kobani in Syria.
Yes.
And as you know, in recent months, the Islamic State was engaged in an all-out war against the Kurds in Kobani. The second reason is the size of the bomb was such that, killing 30 people, this could not have been a self-generated attack by a lone wolf attacker. And it was most likely coordinated by the leadership of the Islamic State.
And Mr. Seçkin, we know that Turkey's borders are relatively secure. Do you believe that the attack might lead to more violence and insecurity in the coming months?
Well, I think the key dynamic that we need to watch out here is the ongoing war between the Islamic State and the Kurds in North Syria. And I think that we have seen a pattern in the recent attacks staged by the Islamic State in Turkey. They have all targeted Kurdish-affiliated groups and individuals. And I think this tells us one thing. The Islamic State is playing a very risky game. They want to, given as how they are engaged in this war against the Kurds in North Syria, they want to spark such a reaction from the Turkish Kurds against the Turkish government based on allegations that the Turkish government is somehow cooperating with the Islamic State. And in turn for the Turkish government to respond to the Kurdish elements in Turkey and this way create a second front for the PKK in Turkey and thereby alleviate the burden of the fight from North Syria.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Seçkin, for your time. Turkey analyst at IHS Country Risk in London.